Good afternoon, my friends. Good afternoon. And what a great day for justice it is today, huh? To all those people who thought that Josh Levy was just doing nothing behind the scenes, what amazing news we have for you today. I have so many tabs open on my computer that I'm sure that my mods will tell me if I start glitching, but there's so much to cover. There's so much to cover. FBI SWAT team arrested Matthew Farwell today in the death of Sandra Birchmore, who he started grooming when she was just a 13-year-old child. I have already done a show on Sandra Birchmore, and I linked it in the description to this show. So in case you don't know anything about it, you can go back and check that show out later. That show focused on the civil case against Farwell and Stoughton PD. And we went over a whole bunch of police reports from Canton PD because Sandra Birchmore's murder, we can now say murder, occurred in Canton, but he was a Stoughton police officer. And so Canton PD was the first department to investigate, right? I'm mixing up all my cases. I have Boston 10 up here, their live feed. So I'm hoping that they're going to broadcast the press conference. So I have that up. But what I'd like to do first, since we're here, so many of you are here, I want to read to you the federal indictment that was filed actually yesterday. I can't believe this was kept under wraps. It was the FBI SWAT team that arrested him. So let's take a look together at this federal indictment before we move to the press conference, which hopefully NBC 10 is going to broadcast live. If anybody knows anybody else that's broadcasting it live, I've got it up. I'm going to assume that they are. So here we go. It's the United States of America versus Matthew Farwell. This is a criminal indictment for the U.S. District Court of the District of Massachusetts. These are federal charges. And here is the indictment. Count 1, killing a witness or victim under 18 U.S. Code 1512. It says, at all times relevant to this indictment, general allegations. Number 1, between on or about March 27th, 2012, and on or about April 1 of 2022, defendant Matthew Farwell was a sworn officer of the Stoughton Police Department in Stoughton, Massachusetts. In his capacity as a Stoughton police officer, Farwell also served as an instructor for the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy, hereinafter the Police Explorers, which was a vocational education program for local youth. The Police Explorers was designed to enable youth participants to learn about law enforcement careers. 2, Sandra Birchmore was born in May of 1997. In or around March of 2010, Sandra Birchmore applied to be a participant in the Police Explorers. At that time, Birchmore was 12 years old. Reading this just makes me shudder. She began participating in the program in or around the spring of 2010 and remained in the program through in or around 2016. Prior to in or around 2012, Farwell was a Police Explorers volunteer. He became an instructor when he started working for the Stoughton Police Department in 2012. Before Birchmore attained the age of 16 years old, Farwell engaged in sexual intercourse and other SAs with Birchmore. Farwell's sexual contact with Birchmore continued until or around early 2021. The Stoughton Police Department required employees, including police officers, to accurately report their time and attendance in order to receive wages and overtime. During some of the shifts when Farwell was supposed to be performing his duties as a Stoughton police officer, he was instead engaged in sex acts with Birchmore. He failed to disclose that information to the Stoughton Police Department, and he took steps to conceal his conduct from other department employees. In or around December of 2020, Birchmore learned that she was pregnant. Birchmore told Farwell that he was the father of the child. On or about January 20, 2021, Birchmore's friend called the Stoughton Police Department and told a department employee that Farwell had been having sex with Birchmore. Shortly thereafter, a Stoughton police Department employee told Farwell about the call. See how they look out for each other. On or about February 1, 2021, Farwell killed Birchmore by strangulation. Shortly thereafter, Farwell staged Birchmore's Canton, Massachusetts apartment to make it appear as if Birchmore had committed suicide. Count 1, killing a witness or victim. The grand jury charges. The grand jury reallege and reincorporate or incorporates by reference the allegations in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment. On or about February 1, 2021, in Canton, in the District of Massachusetts, the defendant, Matthew Farwell, did kill Sandra Birchmore, a person known to the grand jury, with malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation, and with the intent to prevent the communication by any person to a law enforcement officer of information relating to the commission or possible commission of a federal offense, to wit, commission or possible commission of the federal offense of deprivation of rights under color of law in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 242, coercion and enticement in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 2422B, and wire fraud in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1343, all in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1512A1C. And this is a true bill signed by the foreperson. The foreperson's name has been redacted, thankfully. And this is signed by Tori Cummins, Brian Fogarty, and Elizabeth Riley, Assistant U.S. Attorneys of the District of Massachusetts. And this was filed yesterday, which was August 27th, 2024. Signed by the clerk in District Court, 12:36 p.m. yesterday. And I can't even believe that this has been kept under wraps until today when the SWAT team showed up to arrest this monster who had been grooming Sandra Birchmore since the age of 12 or 13. It's disgusting. So disgusting that I just swiped myself out. That's how disgusted I am. All right, I am watching, supposed to start this press conference at 1:45, which is about 8 minutes from now. And if anybody else knows who else is going to be streaming this live, if any news channels are streaming it live on YouTube, I didn't see that Law and Crime or anybody has announced that they're covering it. So I have the live feed of Boston 10 up because they should be covering it, wouldn't you think? Yes. Local PD ruled it a suicide. They did. And she had a scarf tied around her neck and she was sitting on the floor. And we knew from looking at the police reports and going through the deep dive, shallow dive that we did. I think we only did the Canton PD reports. I don't think we've been through the MSP reports yet, but I have all of them and we will. It's horrifying. I have some photos of SWAT picking him up this morning. So let's just let's take a look at that. Or those. Here's a few. There you go. A little photo montage of the activities this morning, getting Farwell into custody. It's about time. Boston 10. Okay, good. I have Boston 10 up and the audio is fantastic and it's their live feed. So we'll just wait. Yes, may God bless Sandra and her unborn baby. Justice will hopefully be fully served now and not covered up like the McAlberts. It's a good day for justice. Good afternoon, Team Brittany. So glad you could join. Nosy Rosie, how do you think this looks for the players in the Karen Reed case? Good, in particular, who inserts himself where he isn't assigned there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's just beginning, my friends. It's just beginning. And everyone that's called us grifters and conspiracy theorists from the get go are going to have to eat their words. And we're here for it. We are here for it. And because of the language in today's indictment, this stream is probably going to, be demonetized, but it's cool because we're here for it. They don't like such things to talk about as sexual assault and rape. And these are things that need to be talked about. Okay, I don't want to know what other creators are broadcasting because then you're going to redirect people there. What I want to know is if any news channels are going to be broadcasting so that I can get you the best feed. I have 10 up. That's who I think I'm going to use. Yep, all the same players and the Karen Reed trial, and Mr. Marcy is right up front. Yep. And it was FBI Boston that broke this morning. Somebody sent me this tweet. And this broke at like right before noon, 11:59 a.m. on the East Coast. Boston SWAT team has arrested former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell for allegedly killing Sandra Birchmore. We took him into custody without incident. Details to follow at 1:45 p.m. news conference at the federal courthouse in Boston, and that is the U.S. Attorney's Office. Of course, it says the U.S. Attorney's tweet says, U.S. Attorney to host press conference today at 1:45 p.m. to announce the arrest and charges against a former Stoughton police officer in connection with the death of a young woman. A young woman. They don't name her. Name her. Her name is Sandra Birchmore, and she was groomed during a police explorers program for children by this SOB and his twin brother and some other people. And maybe justice will come for all of them, all of the perpetrators. And then it says valid credentials from accredited media organizations required, I guess, to get to the press conference. So I don't know what they consider to be valid press credentials, but we'll see. We will see. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for redirecting people to other streams. Appreciate that so much. It's really not a cool thing to do on YouTube, but U.S. Attorney's Facebook page and YouTube will have it. All right, well, we'll check there, but I think 10 is having it, so we're good. Hopefully, I have like 7 million tabs open, so we will find it. We've got all the options. We've got them all. Although I don't know. Because the last thing they have posted, the U.S. attorneys for the District of Massachusetts, is from August 21st. But we'll keep it up anyway, just in case. How are you guys feeling about this? How are you feeling about it? He's one of many that's going down, says Coffee Nut. Thank you, Ms. Buckeye99. Love it here. Love having you here. Love my commentary. Thank you. Could John O'Keefe have worked on this case? Well, he was the Boston PD, and as far as I know, it was Canton PD and the MSP. So I don't think so. If anybody has any information to the contrary, let me and Goose Toots know. Thanks for the deuce. Thomas, Autonomous Anonymous, are federal charges to get the death penalty instead of Commonwealth. We'll see. We'll see. Karen Collins became a member. Congrats. Waiting for the ripple effects, says Tina T. Oh, and the ripple effects are going to be enormous. This is the beginning to the end. Free Karen Reed, says Caveman. Thank you, Caveman. Thank you so very, very much. Let's see. I'm coming up here. Well, they're talking about some sort of school district thing on Boston 10. Zelda Kelly stopped everything to be here. Oh, come on with the tell us verdict. For real? Did they really reach a verdict? Hold on. It's gonna be read at 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, well, we got time then because you know what? It's 1:45 Eastern. So those of you who are waiting with me for the tell us verdict, we're gonna read it at 3 p.m. We got plenty of time. I had a feeling that these two things were gonna conflict, but now we don't have to worry about that. Right? Of course, right. I have CBS Boston on too. Let's see. They don't have it up yet either. It could be running late. That happens sometimes. Except I've got it. Hold on. All right. I've got it. Forget about you, Boston 10. You're done. Here we go. And here we go. Razzler's mom, I guess we'll be with you all day, Melanie. I approve of this. I'm not mad about it. Spending my day with you is the best. Having you here is the best too, Razzler's mom. It seems like they're setting up, so we'll just minimize it until we are ready to go. Look at us getting this done. We got to read the federal indictment together. We got the live feed up of the press conference that is going to start. Look, notice the Department of Justice seal in the background. What a great day for justice. U.S. Attorney's seal. Wow. This is a great day, my friends. This is really a great day. Tick, tick, boom. And bang, bang. Bang, bang. I can. I'm learning. Yeah, tell us verdict is not going to be read until 3. Thank you, Team Brittany. You are on it and you are amazing. And the only thing I'm not on here is why is this thing buzzing when it's not supposed to be? One of these days, I'm going to learn about technology, and then it's not going to be as fun because I won't be swiping myself out and all of such the other things. Justice for Sandra, her unborn baby, and the fall of the Norfolk DA's office, and we are here for it, and we are outraged. Can you imagine them ruling this a suicide from the beginning? I mean, can you imagine? We looked at the police reports. We looked at the investigative reports. We looked at everything that we could look at on this case. Annabeth says this is important, but it also makes me think, can Canton PD and MSP manage to screw the O'Keefe investigation up enough so there won't ever be an indictment of the actual perpetrators? What if somebody rolls over? Annabeth, what if somebody rolls over? The pressure's on. Yeah. Yeah, Travel Truth. Hello. Hi, CM. Hi, CM Laval. Thanking me for showing it. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. David Reese, who knows a lot about this case and everything that is happening in the Karen Reed case and other cases in Massachusetts. Officer Keefe worked in the office that sex offenders register. He didn't investigate any cases. Thank you. And I do trust your info because you have a lot of info. Tell us we're at 3 p.m. Eastern. Yes, 3 p.m. Eastern and 12 and noon Pacific. Noon Pacific. That is what is up right now. I'm going to show you for a momento on the Law and Crime feed. See, verdict is in to be read at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So do not worry one bit. I'm taking care of you. We're going to do it all today. We're doing it all. Linda says, finally. Estrella, you think the FBI is done investigating anything else? I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that Josh Levy likes to do things in bunches when he drops his indictments, likes to do them. Remember the stream that we did on the MSP officers who were in charge of giving out commercial driver's licenses? Now, a bunch of them were indicted for trading commercial driver's licenses to people who didn't take the test or couldn't pass the test, or employees of companies whose employees needed commercial driver licenses. And the MSP guys who were indicted on that were taking favors and such things as plunge pools, driveways, mailboxes, expensive water for their barracks or wherever they worked out of. And that was Josh Levy. Donna Burke. Yep. There's a few Canton cops who are on investigation for Karen Reeder involved too. Yep. Dun, dun, dun. Tuscahone Zone. Shaylee, it is a good day for justice. Powerpuff 4 says, good day for justice. Glad the FBI finally got involved. Norfolk let their community down again. Thank you, Zelda, for becoming a new member. And thank you, Mama She, for the 10. Great day for justice. Yes, it is. We're also going to get a verdict in the Telus case, so we'll see what happens there. They were out for at least 10 hours, and we were all very surprised that they did not come back. Melissa, thank you so much. Let's all say her name, Sandra Birchmore. Thanks for being a member for 7 months, Melissa. Here's Josh Levy, my friends. Here he is. Good evening to the Netherlands.
Good afternoon. On February 4th, 2021, Sandra Birchmore was found dead in her Canton, Massachusetts apartment. The charges filed today in federal court allege that she was in fact murdered by Matthew Farwell 3 days earlier. At the time of her death, Sandra Birchmore was a 23-year-old woman with her entire life ahead of her, and she was pregnant with her first child. We allege that Sandra Birchmore survived years of grooming, statutory rape, and then sexual violence, all at the hands of Matthew Farwell, who was employed throughout their relationship as an officer and then detective for the Stoughton Police Department. And when it became clear to Mr. Farwell that he could no longer control Sandra Birchmore, he allegedly silenced her permanently. This morning, Matthew Farwell was arrested on a federal grand jury indictment, charging him with one count of killing a witness or victim. Specifically, Mr. Farwell is charged with violating Title 18 United States Code 1512 for killing Sandra Birchmore with the intent of preventing her from communicating information about his possible commission of federal crimes. How did this all unfold? What happened here? Well, back in 2010, a 12-year-old Sandra Birchmore applied to join the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers program, which introduces teens to policing. Officer Matthew Farwell was an instructor in that program. And as alleged in court documents, he befriended Sandra Birchmore, contacted her online, went to the library with her, became friends on Facebook, essentially groomed her. And then he committed statutory rape by having sex with her when he was a 27-year-old police officer and she was just 15 years old. Mr. Farwell continued to have a sexual relationship with Sandra Birchmore until her death 8 years later, allegedly meeting her for sex regularly when he was on duty and being paid by the Stoughton Police Department. Now, in the weeks leading up to Sandra Birchmore's death in February 2021, she found out that she was expecting a baby. And she told Mr. Farwell that he was the father. According to court documents, Ms. Birchmore was very excited about becoming a mother, buying baby clothes and other items, taking precautions to ensure the health of her new child. Sandra Birchmore had good friends. She had a good job. She had dreams of becoming a nurse, and she had a child on the way. But Mr. Farwell did not share in that excitement. It's alleged that Mr. Farwell reacted quite negatively to the news that Sandra Birchmore was pregnant with his child. And he acted angrily, it is alleged, when Sandra Birchmore started making requests of Mr. Farwell around doctor's appointments and ultrasounds and what information would be on the birth certificate. Mr. Farwell was losing control in late 2020, early 2021. And the information that Sandra Birchmore possessed about his illegal conduct was in danger of slipping out. In fact, word started to get out about their relationship. Less than 2 weeks before she was found dead, someone called the Stoughton Police Department and disclosed that Matthew Farwell had had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore. And when Mr. Farwell learned about that call, he became visibly angry. Mr. Farwell, it is alleged in these court papers, started to lose his patience, lose his temper, and the 6'4" Mr. Farwell started to be physically violent with 4'10" Sandra Birchmore. And Sandra Birchmore told her friends that Mr. Farwell had pushed her and shoved her and put her in a chokehold. She was scared. And during that same time, Mr. Farwell was allegedly planning Sandra Birchmore's murder. For the first time, he requested a key to her apartment. And she told friends that he was oddly inspecting the apartment and looking at the closet, including the closet that she was found dead in front of. And then it all came to a head on February 1st, 2021. Mr. Farwell went over to her apartment that evening, and he strangled Sandra Birchmore to death. That's the allegation in this case. And he used his knowledge and experience as a law enforcement officer to stage her death to look like a suicide. He allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder. And he almost did until today. Back in 2021, with the information that was available, Sandra Birchmore's death was ruled a suicide or deemed a suicide. But over the last year or so, the FBI and our office have been working exhaustively with our state partners. We've uncovered critical new information, examined the existing information, all of which led to this federal grand jury indictment. If convicted on this charge, Mr. Farwell faces a minimum of life imprisonment.
Minimum of life or death?
Giving voice to the voiceless, ensuring that no one is above the law, protecting the vulnerable people of Massachusetts, that's the highest calling of people in law enforcement. And this case represents those principles. And every day across Massachusetts, thousands of police officers, federal, state, local law enforcement put their lives on the line to protect the people of Massachusetts. Mr. Farwell violated those principles, and now he faces very grave consequences. It is disheartening to have to charge law enforcement officers, especially with crimes as serious. But it's our job at the Department of Justice to investigate potential crimes without fear and without favor. We do in this office what we've been doing for decades with our federal partners like the FBI. We follow the facts, regardless of where they lead. We apply the law and the principles of federal prosecution, full stop. We're not influenced by social media chatter. We're not influenced by politics. We're influenced by the facts and the law. Our mission is to do our level best to do justice in every case. And our mission today is to do justice for Sandra Birchmore. Lastly, I want to note that we are sharing the information and the evidence that we developed in this case with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, with the Massachusetts State Police, and with the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office, so they can assess whether state charges may be warranted in this situation. And I want to thank those three agencies. I also want to thank the Stoughton Police Department for their assistance in our investigation. Lastly, I want to commend the women and the men of the FBI Boston and Lakeville for their incredible work on this case. This is a dogged investigation. And as you look at the court papers, you'll see exactly how much work has gone into this matter. A huge credit to them. And I particularly want to thank the members of my office, the office I'm proud to lead, the victim witness advocates, paralegals, the chief of our human trafficking and civil rights unit, Liz Riley, assistant United States attorneys, Tori Cummings and Brian Fogarty. This case doesn't happen without their passion for justice. They deserve the credit, not me. Now I want to turn it over to Steve Kelleher, the assistant special agent in charge of FBI Boston.
Kelleher. Is he related to Kelleher, who lives across from 34?
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Kelleher, Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. At approximately 10:45 a.m. this morning, the FBI arrested former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell for allegedly taking the life of Sandra Birchmore in order to ensure her silence. The FBI SWAT team took him into custody at a shopping plaza in Revere without incident. Immediately following his arrest, we shared this significant development with Sandra's family. We know it does not ease their pain, but hopefully it answers some of their questions. Simply put, this case is about seeking justice for Sandra, who we believe was killed by Matthew Farwell after he allegedly groomed and sexually abused her when she was just 15 years old, violating her body and her civil rights. It's also about keeping Mr. Farwell from getting away with murder and from harming anyone else. We in law enforcement are entrusted with immense authority because our decisions can have life-changing consequences, both good and bad. To temper that power, we must adhere to the highest of ethical standards. What we believe Officer Matthew Farwell did, as outlined in today's indictment, is depraved and a gross betrayal of his sworn oath and the public's trust. Let me be clear. Matthew Farwell's gun and badge did not grant him authority to violate the Constitution, and it certainly didn't entitle him to sexually exploit, abuse, and rape a child before killing her and her unborn baby in an attempt to cover up his alleged crimes. What's also troubling is we believe Matthew Farwell staged Sandra's body and her apartment to make it look like she had died by suicide.
Yeah.
In the days that followed, this sworn police officer repeatedly lied to Massachusetts State Police investigators about the nature of their relationship. It's a stark contrast to the sheer excitement and pure joy that Sandra felt when she told Farwell that she was expecting his child, texting him a photo of a poster she had made celebrating the pregnancy. Our investigation also uncovered additional evidence that is inconsistent with someone choosing to die by suicide. In the hours leading up to Sandra's death, she reached out to a photographer to inquire about booking a newborn photo shoot. She also reached out to a friend about obtaining baby clothes. And at the time that she was in the middle of doing laundry when she died, with a load in the washing machine and another one in the dryer. There's no question this was a complex investigation, and our work is not done. Our agents, analysts, and financial investigators reviewed tens of thousands of text messages, emails, and financial records, conducted dozens of interviews with family, friends, and experts, and analyzed the crime scene. We urge anyone with information about the circumstances surrounding Sandra's death to contact the FBI. Committing murder to eliminate victims and witnesses is heinous, and it shakes the very core of our justice system, which depends on people truthfully testifying to what they know. Today's arrest shows that anyone who tries to interfere and retaliate against victims and witnesses in an attempt to subvert the rule of law will have to answer for it.
Anyone.
After all, the public's trust is critical for our justice system to function properly. That's why the FBI will do everything in its power to bring to justice anyone who tries to undermine that trust. Our hearts go out to Sandra, to the Birchmore family, and all who knew and loved Sandra. On behalf of the FBI, I want to thank them for their cooperation, patience, perseverance, and fortitude. I also want to thank our agents and analysts for their hard work and dedication, Acting U.S. Attorney Josh Levy and his team for their partnership, and both Chief McNamara of the Stoughton Police Department and Colonel Mon with the Massachusetts State Police for their assistance in helping us move this investigation forward. Thank you.
Colonel Mon.
Josh, why did it take so long to go from suicide to finding suicide?
Josh, why did it take so long to go from suicide to
Well, I think if you
finding murder?
when you have a chance to look through the court papers, you'll see how exhaustive this investigation is. Obviously, this is an incredibly serious charge. There was a lot of forensics and other evidence that had to be marshaled, expert witnesses, et cetera. So we move as fast as we can, and we also have a duty to get it right.
Was there a rush to find a suicide?
Was there a rush to find a suicide
Yeah.
because this
Our
involved a
office
police
wasn't
officer?
involved in the initial determination of a suicide, so I can't speak to that.
You mentioned your office got involved about a year ago. What prompted that?
Yeah, we get leads on cases all the time from all different sources. I'm not going to comment on how we get information on how we got into this one.
As you said initially, this was considered a suicide, but it seems like there's a plethora of evidence to suggest otherwise. Surveillance, text messages. How was that all missed for the first 2 years?
Yeah, I'm only in a position to comment on what we've done on this investigation. Those questions are not something I'm able to answer to. We like I said in my comments, we started pulling this string and followed the evidence and got new evidence to put together the case we put together today.
What evidence tipped you off?
I'm sorry, sir?
What evidence led you to
What evidence tipped you off?
You know, it's you're never able to pick one piece of evidence that is the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's really an accumulation. We have to go in front of a jury, 12 citizens, and convince them beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Farwell is guilty. That's on us. He's presumed innocent today, and he will remain innocent until we meet that burden. But it's all the evidence in combination makes that case.
Did the state medical examiner's office plan to change the cause of death on her for death certificate?
Does the medical examiner's office plan to change the cause of death on her?
Well, I'll take those in reverse order. I'm not going to comment on the second piece. What we have alleged in the court papers is that Ms. Birchmore told Mr. Farwell several times that he was the father. And your question about the state medical examiner, obviously, they don't report to me, and that's a question better directed to the state medical examiner.
Matthew is mentioned here, but we've heard reports over the years of several other officers. Have you
Yeah,
guys-
this guy wants to know about the other officers. You're only talking about Matthew right
So
now.
I think Assistant Special Agent Charge Kelleher alluded to the fact this is an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to comment on what the other pieces are that we're looking into, but it's an active investigation. Shelley.
This is a death penalty eligible case. Is that on the table or is that already off the table?
So Shelley, you're absolutely correct. The maximum penalty under this statute as charged is a sentence of death. And whether to seek the
See,
death
there is a
penalty
federal
in
death
a
penalty.
Federal case is decided at the highest levels of the Department of Justice. That decision has not been made on whether the death penalty sought in this case, and that process will continue. But I can't comment on it beyond that.
Would you favor that? Would you push for that?
Not going to comment on it. It's a process that involves a lot of people at the Department of Justice, and I'm not going to share my view on this.
Did other officers in Stoughton or Stoughton government know about the underage sexual contact that Matthew Farwell was having with Sandra when it was going on in those early 2010, 11, 12, 13?
I can't hear that question.
I'm not going to comment on information that's not in the public record. As you heard, this is an ongoing matter, so we're going to continue to look into this matter. And if there's other individuals that we develop evidence they've violated the federal law, we'll proceed.
Josh, can you touch on, I mean, murder, state usually is the one that handles murder charges. Obviously.
The state is usually the one that files murder charges.
Named this one.
Why are you doing it here?
Authorities, and do you think that the state officials watched this investigation?
Do you think that the state officials botched this
you know,
investigation?
There's a lot of overlap in the law between the federal government has jurisdiction over and what the state government has jurisdiction over. When someone comes to our office with credible information that a police officer may have been involved in a murder and underlying legal violations as set forth in the indictment, we're going to investigate that case every time. They come in different shapes and sizes, but that is our duty to the public, is to pursue credible leads like that and investigate them fully.
To follow up on her question, we saw Lieutenant Tully outside earlier. This was Norfolk DA's case first.
We saw Lieutenant Tully outside earlier. This was Norfolk DA's
Does your
case
office look
first.
into what may have went wrong in their investigation?
Are you going to look into what went
This
wrong
case
in
is
their
about what
investigation?
went wrong for Sandra Birchmore and how she was treated by Matthew Farwell and how he violated her rights and ultimately killed her. That's what this case is about. It's not about what happens at other state agencies. This is about justice for Sandra Birchmore.
This is the second major death investigation where your office has come to a different conclusion than Norfolk County DA.
This is the second major death investigation where you have come to a different conclusion than Norfolk County DA.
State prosecutors reach different conclusions on investigations.
So I'm here to talk about one case. We got about 1,000 cases in the office. I'm not going to comment on any other case in the office. I would just caution you to not extrapolate too much from one case out of all the things. that
Oh, we're
happened.
going to extrapolate as soon as you're done, Josh. Don't worry.
Killing of a witness. I can't think of any others. I'm wondering if there are others.
I don't know the answer to that. That's a question.
She
that's
said,
an
I'm
answer we
wondering if
could
there
get
are
for you, but
others
I don't know the answer to it, Shelley.
that
We
were
bring
killed.
charges of obstruction of justice frequently, as you know, but I'm not pulling one off the top of my head that matches this. Sorry. That's okay. Yeah, I'm not in a position to comment on things that are in the public record. That I wouldn't take that as a yes or a no. But I'm limited up here under local rules to talk about what's in the public record.
Can you talk about the arrest? What happened with the arrest this morning?
I'm going to ask ASAC Kelleher to speak to that.
To talk about what happened with the arrest
Um,
this morning.
So this morning we had a SWAT team that was in a location where Mr. Farwell was. He was taken into custody. He was driving a truck, gravel hauler, and he was safely taken into custody by the SWAT team, which is, you know, what we strive to achieve every time we do an operation like this. No, he was in Revere.
Not in a neighborhood in Revere, was it on the highway?
No, it was in a shopping plaza in Revere. Mhm.
Did he say anything?
We have not tried to interview him.
That, dump truck you're driving, is that his new employment?
The truck that he was driving, was
Yeah,
that
I
his
wouldn't
new employment?
comment on that here at this time, but he was driving the dump truck when he was arrested.
A dump truck.
Before your agency got involved, there were other agencies investigating this. Do we expect to see any fallout from those lead investigators from other agencies?
The lead investigators. Can we expect to see any fallout since they're involved in other cases?
You know, I think the juncture we're at right now is that we are working with state agencies. We've developed, as I said, new information that we're going to share with our state partners. They're going to make decisions about what charges are appropriate under state law, if any.
Can you tell us who the lead investigator was on this case?
Can you tell us who the lead investigator was on this case?
I can tell you the lead investigator was for our matter, which was the FBI. I don't know. I honestly don't have information on who the lead was in a state investigation. I don't get that type of information.
You've said that you're not, you're looking just to investigate the Birchmore's death, that's the focus of this case, not what law enforcement agencies prior to you did. Is that within your jurisdiction to investigate what those state agencies did?
I think what I said was I'm here to talk about Sandra Birchmore, and I'm not here to talk about other things that are happening in the United States Attorney's Office. It's 125 federal prosecutors doing a lot of different things. In this case, this press conference is about one young woman who we allege was killed by a Stoughton police officer, Matthew Farwell.
Saying how your investigation might be complicated by the fact that you're going now into federal court where there is this, and you found that it was suicide, the Norfolk County DA's office opted not to pursue it. How does that affect your efforts now to prosecute?
Good question. Look, in evaluating whether to bring charges, we obviously look at all the evidence that's both incriminating and exculpatory. All that gets turned over to defense lawyers. Mr. Farwell will be well represented in this case, and those facts will be put out in front of a jury. We are confident that when all the evidence is presented to a jury, if it gets that far, that those issues will not prevent us from securing a conviction.
Have you done your own, have your own person do an autopsy?
We,
Come to a different conclusion? I know there's another one out there that's already been reported on. but-
That's correct. There's an expert witness. I don't want to get into exactly what that person did or didn't because I don't want to mischaracterize it, but it's in the court documents. Who has a tremendous amount of experience in this field and has reached a different conclusion.
Just a couple more questions. And just to be clear, you're not going to comment on the other two officers who had sexual relations with this person?
That's correct.
How unusual is it for a police officer to be charged with a capital offense?
How unusual is it for a police officer to be charged in a criminal?
It's unusual in my experience. I don't have a full handle on how often this has been done nationwide, but it's an unusual situation. And that's partly why it's so incredibly disturbing.
Anyone else? Do you have any words of caution to departments that have police explorer programs based on what you learned?
Any words of caution for people who might be participating in an Explorers program?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to my swim lane. I'm not an expert on police explorer programs. And so I really don't have any intelligent answer to that question.
Thank you.
Well, well, well. That was fantastic. How many people are in tears right now? Out there. Wow. I'm sure that you guys have a lot to say on this, so let's take some questions. Justice for Sandra Birchmore is finally coming. Finally. Your eclectic mind is crying. Thanks for the 5. I live in Massachusetts. This is bringing tears to my eyes. Finally, the suppressed are getting justice. Finally. Sandra and her unborn baby. Thank you for your super chat and for your second super sticker on Eclectic Mind. It's a great day for Justice Shannon, 1989, 100%. So sad, says Mary Ellen. Thank you so much. AJ Charles is crying happy tears for Sandra and her family. Laura Riker, please read the papers Levy talked about. I did read them at the beginning of the stream, Laura. We read the federal indictment earlier in the stream. You can rewatch that part later. Can the Justice Department do anything about Deb? Is that a typo? I don't know. Isn't what you're referring to there. So many of you are so involved in the Sandra Birchmore case. I actually reached out to Mizzy to see if she wanted to come on, but isn't she in Australia? So there's a big time difference. I didn't hear back from her. Oh, about Bev. Yeah, judges have judicial immunity. So I don't really see, unless they found any evidence of any judicial corruption, I don't really see how or why, she would be brought into this. As some people were kind of misrepresenting in the chat that there is no death penalty in Massachusetts. That may be, but there is a federal death penalty. And the federal death penalty applies in all 50 states and U.S. territories, but it is used relatively rarely. My research indicates that there are 40 prisoners on federal death row currently, most of whom are imprisoned in Terre Haute, Indiana. 16 federal executions have been carried out in the modern era, all by lethal injection, 13 occurring in a 6-month period between July 2020 and January 2021. And so there's that. And we heard Josh Levy, in case you didn't want to hear it from me, we heard him confirm that. And maybe that's why they decided to bring federal charges. Oh, and also because guess what? The state investigators didn't do their job. The state investigators didn't do their job. Mary says it came to Karen Reed by way of Sandra Birchmore. They targeted children whose families' lives were not fantastic. Yes. And you know what, Mary? With my work that I did representing victims of clergy SA against the Catholic Church, when that whole scandal broke, and coincidentally broke in Boston all the way back in 2002, there was a movie Spotlight made about those cases. I handled those cases for at least 50 or 60 victims. And predators of this type are very, very savvy when it comes to picking their victims. They know exactly who to target. There is a grooming process. There's a whole MO involved in it. And a lot of times they typically go after the children who are not going to tell, or whoever they have reason to believe that they can threaten into not telling. Oftentimes children from, and I'm not going to generalize, but this is the profile, children who come from homes that are volatile, homes where they may be the youngest of many children and they don't get a lot of attention, homes with alcoholic or drug addicted parents. And it is what it is. Kids who aren't going to tell, kids who are going to like the attention, and they make them feel special. And it's horrifying. And it happens every single day. Every single day. And when I hear people talking about, the Madeline Soto case, and they're so horrified, how could this happen? It happens every single day. Nobody talks about it. And that's why you need to talk about it with your children, however uncomfortable it may be. You need to talk about it with your children. I have 5 children. And when I started handling those cases, because these cases go all the way back to 2002, I made sure that my kids knew what to look out for, and I knew what to look out for. And it's a hard conversation to have, but it needs to be had. And hopefully this guy is going to pay for what he did. I'm actually pretty confident, fairly confident, very confident that he will. And this is going to open up a whole other can of worms, because Guarino, Trooperino, we called him during the Karen Reed trial, missed something like 30,000 text messages between Sandra Birchmore and this monster. Remember his role in the Karen Reed case? He's the one who couldn't find the 227 Haas long to die in cold search, or said it didn't happen at 227. This is going to open up the floodgates of defendants banging on courthouse doors to get out based on faulty investigations by not only Canton, but also the MSP. Thank you, Lauren Mars, for your super sticker. I appreciate you always. Thank you, Amanda, for thanking me and for being a member for 3 months. Bride of Frankenstruck says Morrissey should be demanded to retire or resign. Listen, you guys live. A lot of you live in Norfolk County. He's run unopposed since something like 2010. That's your DA. Thank you, Rassler's mom. Let's show Melanie some love, y'all. Appreciate you always, Melanie. Love you. Love you right back, Rassler's mom. Lauren Mars, so the Freds can prosecute for murder. They can. But it has to be there has to be a violation of a United States code, which they were able to find in this case. So, I wonder if they were able to find out who the real murderer is of Officer John O'Keefe, if that opens whoever that person or people may be, to federal charges, considering it was the murder of a police officer. Great point, Lauren. Why isn't it 2 counts? Amanda, I haven't had a chance to look at it enough. For the unborn baby? I'd have to look up the federal law on that. That law varies from state to state, whether or not a fetus is considered murder. And I can't speak off the top of my head about what the federal law is on that. So I'm going to assume, because it was not 2 counts, including a count for murdering Sandra and a count for murdering her unborn child, that it may not be a proper federal charge. Ellen Greenberg case needs to get changed to homicide, right? That was also ruled a suicide. Thank you. Thank you, Frankie's mom. Auntie Candy, thank you. Thoughts? There will be charges for the death of her unborn. If not, please explain. I don't know. Like I just said, thank you, Auntie Candy. Haven't done the research on it yet. But I'm going to assume that the federal grand jury had all the information they would have needed to make or come to a decision on both counts if there was a count federally for that. Thank you, Blackwater, for being for sending big love right back to you. Thank you, Mama She, for the 20. You're so right. Also, kids with special needs are targeted as well, and it's so sad. You're right. That is correct. And listen, that's why the priest got away with this for so long, because if you had the priest at your dinner table on a Sunday night in Breezy Point or Staten Island, you were the king and queen of the neighborhood. And who wouldn't trust a priest around their kids, right? But it doesn't just happen with priests, it happens with teachers, people in positions of power who have access to children. Lisa, thanks for the 5. Gariner was assigned to the sex crimes team after this investigation. Poor choices. Thank you, Lisa. Gringa. Yes, sadly, in light of the Karen Reed trial, I can believe it. Thank you. Karaoke, thanks for tuning in from Canada. And for the Canadian 20, Officer John O'Keefe's dedication to community outreach and youth programs. He often participated in initiatives aimed at building positive relationships between the police and the community, especially with young people. And isn't it interesting that perhaps it was the murder of Officer John O'Keefe that got the federal investigation rolling in Sandra Birchmore? Or were the feds already investigating the murder of Sandra Birchmore? And then Karen Reed's case came along as a side note. He won't answer that question, but maybe one day we'll find out the answer to that question. I see you. Thanks for being a member for 3 months. The unborn has to be viable about 20 weeks in Massachusetts to be considered murder. But this is federal law, remember, not Massachusetts law. So I'm going to have to do some more info on that before I give you an answer one way. Do some more research on it. Melissa became a member. Congrats. Welcome, Lady Libra. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships, and to whomever of you received them randomly from YouTube. Thank you so very much. Zimmy from the bus stop is a member for a month, and there's some emojis there that I can't read because this is StreamYard, so I'm not quite sure what they say. Bernadette, thank you for thanking me for my pursuit of justice. Glamasuze says, I want to celebrate, but I can only cry. I think there's a lot of people crying with you right now, Suzanne. So thank you so much for the 10. Christina, thank you for the Venmo, for my who's thanking me for my coverage and honesty, and also Suzanne, who says, song for Sandra Birchmore, and the walls come crumbling down. Justice is finally coming. And you know, I think in song lyrics, and I believe that is a John Cougar Mellencamp song, right? Margaret says, not just priests, but nuns. Look at here in Ireland. Yes. Hello to Ireland, and you are correct. David, it's 18 U.S. Code 1841, protection of unborn children. All right. Well, does it say 18 USC section? We're here until 250 when I'm going to jump and do the Telly's verdict. So let's look it up. 18 U.S. Code 1841. It was nice of the Las Vegas court to hold off until Josh Levy finished his press conference to come back and read the verdict in the Telly's trial. If you guys have not been watching the Telly's trial, it is insane. We thought the jury would only be out for less than 2 hours, and they were out for 10. This is day 3 on Verdict Watch here. So the U.S. Code of Protection of Unborn Children. Okay, so whoever engages in conduct that violates any of the provisions of law listed in subsection B and thereby causes the death of or bodily injury to a child who is in utero at the time of the conduct takes place is guilty of a separate offense under this section. Does not require proof that the person engaging in the conduct had knowledge or should have had knowledge that the victim was pregnant, but he did know, so that doesn't apply. Does not require proof that the defendant intended to cause the death of or bodily injury to the unborn child, which clearly he did. If the person engaging in the conduct thereby intentionally kills or attempts to kill the unborn child, that person shall, instead of being punished under subparagraph A, be punished as provided under subsections 1111. I'm just not seeing where there's any limitation on. I mean, it says here, as used in this section, the term unborn child means a child in utero, and the term child in utero or child who is in utero means a member of the species Homo sapiens at any stage of development who's carried in the womb. So you guys are right. Maybe those charges can be amended. And this is just a quick glance of U.S. Code section 1841. Thank you, David, for pointing that out to me. At any stage of pregnancy, it's a violation of the U.S. Code. So we'll see if more charges will be coming. Carol, R.I.P. Sandra and Sweet Baby. Thank you, Carol, for your super sticker. Thank you, Bernadette, for your super sticker. This is bizarre. This is bizarre, but it's great news. And thank you. Thank you, Linda. Federal courts are not televised. You are correct, Marie. You're correct. This trial will not be televised. The law and crime poll, just for those of you who are waiting with me for the TELUS verdict, has a poll up and they say 91% guilty, 9% not guilty, which is very unusual for law and crime because they usually disagree with everything my viewers say. Christopher, thank you for saying that. I rock for that. Thanks, David, for pulling up the code section. Are there trolls in here? I haven't seen any yet, but if I do, don't worry. My mods are on it. They're like serious protectors. How could anybody be against the persecution of Matthew Farwell, the prosecution and persecution of Matthew Farwell for killing Sandra Birchmore, which was already ruled a suicide by MSP? Yep, Scott Bolton. 32,709 text messages that that MSP Trooperino, aka Nicholas Guarino, couldn't find. Gitmo Holiday, that's a great point, because Gitmo Holiday says, did they find he was indeed the father? The fetal tissue has never been tested. It was never tested by the MSP. So I wonder if the feds tested it. I know they did take a sample. They just never tested it. And for purposes of that second charge that we just looked at federally, doesn't matter if he was the father or not. But she told everyone that he was the father. He seemed to know he was the father. In fact, he was married. I don't know if he's married now, but he was married then, and his wife was also pregnant at the time. Thank you, Monique. It's a great day for Sandra and Justice, and what an honor it is to be a member of your channel and hear this news firsthand from you, Melanie. Thank you, Monique, so very much. I love each and every one of you, and you're so very kind and generous, and you're kind to each other, because that's what we do here. Shaylee said, we won't stop fighting for you, Sandra, and your baby. Rebecca said, this must have been so difficult for Sandra to manage. Yep. Nicholas Guarino has to be shaking in his pants, says Coffee Nut. Kokomo, Indiana, says Matthew Farwell, welcome to Terre Haute, Indiana. Is that where you're from, Kokomo? Indiana, welcome to Terre Haute. Yeah, I bet you that courtroom will be packed, even though it's not televised. Yep. I believe I don't know if he's been arraigned yet, but there was some information on where he was going to be arraigned and at what time. And because Ted Daniel was on top of that. So let's see what he's got to say about that as of right now. And he just was reporting what we had been reporting, that Levy said the ultimate penalty could be death for someone convicted of killing a witness. No decision has been made if this will be a death penalty case. And he's just quoting some things that we just actually saw live from the presser and things that we read in the indictment at the top of this show. So if you weren't here for the top of the show, check it out, because we did go through the federal indictment word for word, and I put it up on the screen so that you guys could all see it and talk about it. Andrea said, I feel like they're going to add those charges, but they could arrest him on Sandra's murder today. Yeah. The NB says, while watching the John O'Keefe trial, I began to wonder if he was looking into police corruption. The violence of his death seemed so much more than an unrequited thing for Karen Reed. Yeah. I think a lot of people thought that. So it's like, it's kind of, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the Karen Reed case that made them look into Sandra Birchmore? Or was it Sandra Birchmore that made them look into the Karen Reed case? Or were they investigating the Norfolk DA's office and stumbled upon both of these investigations and did a little bit of a deeper dive into it? Because coincidentally, Norfolk DA's office is involved in both, right? So anybody have any inside information on which came first? Happy to hear about it if you've got it. But we don't like to talk about rumor or speculation here. If anybody hasn't seen it, I'm not really sure who Joe Flipperhead is, but he did a really good video today. And I watched it earlier about the civil case that Paul O'Keefe filed and some things that Paul O'Keefe has said. And he worked in a montage there. It's on YouTube. I think that's the name of his channel, Joe Flipperhead. If anybody knows, you can just name his channel in the comments and I'll put it up. Go check it out. P. St. Croix, I think the feds were in Sandra first, but sounds like federal law is murder if a witness, so maybe couldn't charge for unborn federally. He's also a CDL truck driver. I wonder if he got the golden handshake. Yeah, I wonder, because he was driving a dump truck when they did a traffic stop today with the SWAT team to pull him over in Revere in a shopping center parking lot. And we looked at some pictures of the scene earlier. Craig says we have to wait. The feds rarely leak. That's true. Pat Sanford says Guarino was definitely sketchy on the stand and seemed shifty, like he knew that wasn't the end. Mm-hmm. Charlotte Smith, the same investigator that testified in Karen Reed, also was first on investigating Sandra. Which one are you talking about? Yep, Sidney Collin and the Canton PD was involved in both cases. You know, was Kevin Albert involved in Sandra Birchmore at all? I think he was, wasn't he? I can't recall now because we went through so many documents. Kate says Levy felt the pressure of the room. He knew what was being put down. Yep. Donna Brooks says Joe Flipperhead is great. Heart Machine says Auntie Bev will swoop in and declare a mistrial. Well, sadly, this is in federal court and she's in superior court, so no chance. That's what it was called, Sydney. Polo Grift, I think, was the name of the video. PCM liked that video too. CBN says, I cannot imagine what Farwell's wife is going through today, and from now on, prayers for her. Yes, prayers for her. Are they still together? Do you know, CBN? Pat Sanford said they started with Karen and then announced before her trial began they were investigating Sandra. Right before her trial did they announce it though? Or I don't recall if it was ever announced or if it was speculated and hypothesized by people, media. And, you know, Levy did say that they could be looking at other people, his twin brother, other people who had sex with Sandra Birchmore when she was a kid. Yes, thank you, David. Lank and Kevin Albert were involved. That's right. It was Sergeant Lank, right, who was first on the scene with Sandra Birchmore. That is correct. Thank you, David Reese, with all of the information. You helped me so much. Would you like to be my personal assistant? Send me an email. And Good. Sergeant Good was in there too. We called him Goody. Peace and Christ says Kevin Albert did interview and collect some video surveillance. And the walls come crumbling down in the walls. Sam, I am. Thanks for the 5. I would like to think that J.O. didn't die in vain, and his death is the reason all of this is being uncovered. Justice for Sandra and John O'Keefe. Love you, Mel. I love you too, Sam. I am. Thank you, Laura. Justice for all victims. Melanie is number 1. Thank you. Yeah, Rob, tell us we're going to read that verdict. It's going to be read at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I have a stream set up for 2:50 p.m. Eastern. So as soon as this stream ends, don't worry, you're going to be teleported right on over to the Tellus verdict, because I've been waiting for this verdict for 3 days, you guys. You know how hard it is to like have a life and do things that you need to do when you're on verdict watch, because you need to be near your computer and able to get to your computer within 10 minutes of the verdict being read. So the verdict is in. It's going to be read at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Don't worry. I'm going to teleport you. Thank you, Crystal. Loves the light that I'm shining. I know I'm not afraid to talk about this stuff, no matter how much heat and hatred and vitriol I face on a daily basis on the cesspool of Twitter and in my inbox and comments on my videos. I think it's worth it. Gibbons Laura Jean said, didn't his wife tell him to take care of the baby? I thought she knew all about this. Yeah, that does kind of ring a bell. Yes, Lank was there. Yep. 5,477 watching, only 2,000 likes. Please hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm. It really helps the algorithm. So if you guys could do that for me, it would be so kind of you to do. I really would appreciate it. John Fanning and Brian Tully were the lead investigators, right? And Sandra Birchmore. For MSP. Mm-hmm. Here's math teachers in the house, everyone. Pour me a double. The last 24 hours in Norfolk County have been epic. Epic. Let's see. Kate C says federal investigators probably started salivating with the direct connects between these cases. Who knows how many else? Let the cards fall. Yeah, let it fall. Let them fall. ER2 says Kevin Albert was involved in Birchmore. I think Goody too. Yeah, good. I don't think Proctor was involved, Deanna. I don't think so. Yeah, Fanning. Fanning, PCM is the guy who was in charge of the Karen Reed jury. Allegedly, possibly. What a fine bunch in Canton, says Thomas. You ain't kidding. Martha Chapman, thanks for the 5. Clue, they caught Jen McCabe at Lank's house because Lank was already under FBI surveillance. Well, that's interesting, isn't it now? Tammy Tebow, thanks for the 5, says, isn't Guarino the one who was caught whispering, kill me on the stand? Was he the one? Nestle 66, thanks for the 10. Victim. The victim was a federal official, such as a judge, law enforcement officer, or elected official. It could also have been a family member of a federal law enforcement official. Are you talking about federal charges to be brought in the case of the murder of Officer John O'Keefe? Because, yeah, you know, I'm a buff. University of Colorado, strong, SCO Buffs. Deion Sanders, you know what his motto is for the team? We coming. We coming. Could also be Levy's motto. We coming. SCO Buffs. Members, give me some buff emojis in the chat, please. We coming. It's going to be a great year for the University of Colorado Buffaloes. Tomorrow night is the home opener. It's going to be on national TV for like the first time ever. Jen Exer Meg says Guarino was the one that muttered, kill me. Yep, let's go. SCO Buffs. We coming. We coming. We coming. We coming. And they coming. They coming too. The walls come crumbling down and the walls came crumbling down. That is right. I'm ready to hear arrest in John O'Keefe's murder case. Stay tuned, my friends. Stay tuned. Logout says, well, I understand this federal presser was limited to the Birchmore case. The amount of deflecting from the other relevant issues is sickening and undermines public trust. But, Logout, they're not ready to announce it until they announce it, you know? So that's why I tried to repeat the questions that the reporters were asking to you during that press conference, because they're often so hard to hear and I have an earbud in so I could repeat them to you. And so I wouldn't really call it deflecting as much as trying to stay on topic. So I don't really fault him for that, to be honest. I don't really fault him for that because we know they're working. It's all a coming. It is all a coming, my friends. All right, moderators, thank you for keeping it classy today. I know these are always hard shows to do with, as such, these topics. So thank you for keeping it classy. Everyone, please hit the like button. I'm going to teleport us over to the Telly's verdict that is going to be read shortly. I'm going to start that one a little bit early, so you are going to be teleported. It's going to be read at 3 p.m. Eastern. It is now 2:43. When I hit go, when I hit end on this, you're going to be teleported over to the new stream. Let me just make sure that it's set up properly because sometimes it doesn't really work. Let me just make sure before I hit end, and then I will see you over there. Let me know that you made it safely. Yeah, it's going to redirect you. Okay, so go on over because that's where we're going. Justice for Sandra Birchmore. Today is a great day in the state of Massachusetts. We aren't able to say that a lot, but today is a great day in the state of Massachusetts. Props to Josh Levy and his team and the entire U.S. Justice Department of the state of Massachusetts for filing murder charges federally against Matthew Farwell for the murder of Sandra Birchmore, which entitles him to the federal death penalty, which Josh Levy during the press conference did not rule out. Until I see you in 30 seconds, be cool, be kind, be classy, because it is not that hard. I promise you, it's not that hard. Hit the like button on your way out and on the way in, and I'll see you over there. Justice for Sandra Birchmore. What a great day. Peace.